Philadelphia Eagles have a new head coach. It is Nick Sirianni, who was the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, which it's not terrible. Yet, why was he named the head coach? Well, let's go through the candidates that they had. A few of them, actually. They had Josh McDaniels, who was what everyone was saying was the clear-cut favorite candidate. They had Kellen Moore, who we'll get to in a minute. Deuce Staley, they were running backs coach. Kellen Moore was obviously the Cowboys offensive coordinator. Todd Bowles is the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Dennis Allen, the spectacular defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, why did Nick Sirianni get the job? Well, I don't think they got to Todd Bowles' interview or to Dennis Allen's interview as of yet, at that point. But I think they looked at it and they asked, could you fix Carson Wentz? And probably a lot of them said, no, we can't fix him. We can't fix him because we don't know what's wrong with him. We think it's competition, yet it's kind of strange to say that a guy who has a 9-figure deal contract is afraid of a little competition. It's kind of strange. But I think it's because Nick Sirianni was saying, yeah, I could fix him. I can fix Carson Wentz. No problem. No issues. Yet the problem is, they talked to Kellen Moore. I believe they talked to Deuce Staley. I don't know exactly. But Nick Sirianni was the only guy they talked to otherwise. I don't think they talked to Dennis Allen yet. And I don't think they talked to Josh McDaniels. And I don't think they talked to Todd Bowles. So the people they only talked to was Deuce Staley, the Eagles running back coach, who I don't understand why he was getting consideration for that job. I don't understand. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, and Sirianni, the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. The problem I have with it is, what made Sirianni the guy that they signed as the head coach? And that my only conclusion could have been that he was the only guy who could say that he could fix Nick Foles. I mean, not Nick Foles, Carson Wentz. Because it really starts off back a few years ago when Nick Foles won that Super Bowl and Carson Wentz was on the sideline. And then Carson comes back, he's not the same. After the knee injury, he gets injured, his back gets injured, he doesn't play the rest of the year. Nick Foles goes, saves the day. And then they trade Nick Foles out of there. Carson Wentz puts together a full season, gets injury free, doesn't miss a game. Gets injured in the wild card game. Josh McCown comes in, wins based off the locker room, because it looked like they could play all the same, even though they lost. It looked like they could play the same because they had a chance to win the game. And then they draft Jalen Hurts, and for whatever reason, Wentz was not the same at all. I don't know why. Yet they said that the interview with Kellen Moore went badly. I am convinced, I don't think it went badly. I think they asked if they could get intel on the playbook that the Cowboys are using. And probably Kellen Moore said no. And then they probably asked him, okay, can you fix Carson Wentz? And he probably said, no, I can't fix Carson Wentz. It then came out yesterday that the interview with Kellen Moore went poorly. these owners change the narratives. Because if you go back to my two theories, where Doug Peterson either wanted to play Carson Wentz and ownership said play Jalen Hurts, or Doug Peterson wanted to play Jalen Hurts and ownership said play Carson Wentz, which is what we believe, because Carson wanted to get out of Philadelphia, and then when the Eagles fired Doug Peterson, now he wants to stay. So this is truly it's truly that Wentz tried and pulled at the little straws that he could to say, hey, I can't win with this guy as a head coach. I don't know. It's then shocking because unless Doug Peterson went rogue and drafted Jalen Hurts, you also have to blame their general manager, Howie Roseman, because they haven't been good drafted. But you have to also blame him for drafting Jalen Hurts, because that created all this commotion. But I believe it's because Nick Sirianni said he could fix Wentz and no one else said he could. That no one else said they could. And it was only him. So that's the first order of business. Second order of business, Dwayne Haskins has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This, in my opinion, besides New England, is the best spot he could go. Because number one, you got an aging quarterback in Big Ben, so you're pretty much the successor. You're the best one, because I don't think they're going to put out Mason Rudolph or Devin Duck Hodges out there. So that's his best spot, and you're going to have a coach that's going to give you every opportunity to learn the playbook and play hard and do all those things. So if you're Dwayne Haskins, this is the spot you got to go. But you got to have to understand, you're going to have to learn the playbook. We told that he was lazy, he didn't want to learn it in Washington. So that's not going to be tolerated over in Pittsburgh. You're going to have to pay attention to what Ben Roethlisberger, if he's still there, wants you to know. And you're also going to have to be, clean up the stuff on the field as well as off the field. You can't make those mistakes on the field, and you can't make those mistakes off the field. Because if you do that, you're not going to stay in Pittsburgh very long. But if you clean those things up, you're going to stay in Pittsburgh, and you'll probably be the successors of Big Ben Roethlisberger. And finally, the Dan Campbell press conference was awesome. It was the best press conference a head coach probably has ever had, because it was so amazing to see the mentality that Dan Campbell's going to bring to the Detroit Lions. It's so amazing. It doesn't make any sense. Dan Campbell went, and this is a quote to the best of my recollection. Quote, this is from Dan Campbell. Quote, we are going to kick them in the teeth. It may take a few punches to knock us down. When we come back up, we're going to take one of the kneecaps. It's going to take a few more punches to knock us down again. When we come back up, we're going to take another kneecap. And sooner or later, we'll be standing. We'll be the one standing. First off, that's a great quote. But also, everyone's like, why? Like, all these people I'm looking at First Take pretty much all said, oh, his success is going to be terrible or mediocre at best, because look at his player when he was a player, because he played in Detroit. He lives in Detroit. Look at him as a player when he was in Detroit. It was a terrible record. 3-13, 7-9, 0-16. Well, who was the head coach at that time? Mike Mertz, who was the offense coordinator of the greatest show on turf, with Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk, and Torrey Holt. That was then. He became the head coach of that team. They never won. Never. They went to a Super Bowl, but they never won a Super Bowl with him as the head coach. He went to Detroit, became the head coach, wasn't successful. 0-16 his final year, and he got fired. They are saying This is what Stephen A. Smith said. He has a combined record of 10 wins and 38 losses when he was in Detroit. That's going to be what's going to happen in Detroit the next 3 years. They're going to keep him, and he's only going to win 10 games. I'm like, how do you know that, though? How do you know that? That was him as a player. He didn't make the calls when he was a player. Now, granted, I don't know if he is going to call the plays as the head coach. He probably won't. But if he does, how do you know that? Give the man a chance. And then they were saying, oh, they should fine him for what he was saying about taking kneecaps. I'm like, no. That was the greatest line that you could say. It gets, first off, it gets the media hyped up. It gets the players who are going to play for him hyped up. It's a great feeling to have. And A.J. Hawk said this on the McAfee and Hawk podcast. He said, A.J. Hawk said, this is the great, Pat McAfee said that this was the greatest press conference. And I agree with him. That it's probably the greatest press conference I've ever heard. A.J. Hawk said, yeah, it is great. Normally what he said, you say in front of the players instead of the media. But it's all the same. He's trying to tell them, hey, we're good, and we're going to fight to the bitter end, and we're going to do what we got to do, and we're going to be the last one standing. So and say, oh, he's not going to be a good head coach. Give him a chance. He might prove you right. Maybe he's not a good coach, and in a few years, he'll be fired, and you go in another direction, as what Detroit seems to do. Or he'll prove that they were wrong and say, hey, look how good of a head coach I am. But we need to give Dan Campbell a chance. But what do you guys think? Should Nick Sirianni be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and how would you rate out of 10 Dan Campbell's press conference? You decide.